Something kind of funny. I don't know what show is on before Fringe on Fox, but
isn't it like a cooking show or what's his face? Ramsey, that guy.
Ramses.
Yeah,
the Pharaoh.
Yes. Doesn't he host a cooking show now?
I don't know.
He came back. He was all mummified and stuff, and came back and started cooking
home cooked meals just like Mummy used to make.
Sad thing is that would probably get a season.
Yeah,
or
I know.
Two.
Gordon Ramsay, is that who you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
Let's talk about Fringe.
There have not been that many episodes since it came back, right? Since it came back, I mean, after winter break. Like 3
I don't remember the last time we talked about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I think that we
last time we talked about it.
Right, I think we've got a lot to cover, probably. I don't really remember. Last time we spoke about it, we were talking about... I believe we were theorizing about how Peter was going to get back.
The sort of issue with Peter wanting to get back to his own timeline, I have always sort of wondered whether that even makes sense. Whether that's really a thing that can happen. Whether there is this other timeline out there where there's a version of Olivia and Walter that are missing their Peter and don't know where Peter went. Whether that's actually a thing he can go back to.
Right, well that's the thing, is that we've never been shown any evidence that universe does exist. It certainly seems like there's evidence against that notion, because in the Series 3 finale, we're shown the observers very obviously talking about how he's erased from the timeline. You know, it seems like that means that there's not like an alternate timeline. It means like he's been erased from this one. But traces of him still remain. But I don't think that there's any reason for we, the audience, to believe that this timeline exists.
The only reason we might believe it is because it has been said so many times by Peter and even by Walter, just so many times that they seem to say it without question now. But they have no real reason to believe it, so why should we?
I don't know. Certainly in this most recent episode, it seems like... It sort of seems to me like Olivia is regaining memories of, the episode itself sort of implied that there were two universes merging, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening to Olivia. It seems like that perhaps she's regaining these memories, and eventually, maybe this is in fact the universe that Peter's meant to be in, that he was in previously.
It's very confusing now, because we've always had these two alternate universes.
Yeah.
And now, apparently, the way the characters on the show are thinking about it, there is this separate subset of universes where Peter has come from.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we've got the A universe and the B universe over here, and then there's the alternate A and alternate B universe. The plot of this most recent episode was a little bit confusing, because it seemed to me that what everyone thought and continues to think was happening in that episode is that the A universe and the B universe were sort of merging with one another in that specific town.
Right.
Whereas what seems to be happening to Olivia is that her A universe memories and her alternate timeline A universe memories seem to be merging with one another.
Right.
It's very confusing.
It is very confusing. I don't really understand. I mean, I don't know. Because for the it's weird, because things happened in this because of Peter's erasure. Erasure, is that a word? Erasure from the timeline. Things were slightly different Lincoln had not met Olivia and the Fringe team before, but then he meets them again. And so, is that something that's going to be how do we sort this out? I mean, if in fact, I don't know. I guess just everyone could regain their memories, and then they'd have these weird sort of merging memories where like Lincoln would remember meeting the Fringe team twice or something. I don't know. This is really confusing.
Well, in that case, what would happen to David Robert Jones?
Right.
Who is in one timeline, he died in season 1, and in the other timeline is very much alive, which I think is actually one of the cooler parts of this whole storyline, where he was always a cool bad guy back from season 1 who wasn't around for very long, but
right.
now he's sort of come back.
Yeah, I do like seeing him again. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's kind of cool that they brought him back, or that they found a way to bring him back, I guess. Well, those clever writers, they can find a way to bring anything back. But and he was, I do agree, he was a very cool villain for season 1. So it's interesting to see what he's planning, and I'm interested to see how Peter would be able to help, I guess. I mean, he's already helped a great deal, but I'm curious. I'm curious to see where this is all heading.
Indeed. I don't know. I think the show has become a little bit too confusing.
It kind of has.
In my opinion.
It's really being bogged down by continuity and things like that. Or lack of continuity, I guess.
Back in the earlier days when we first became introduced to the alternate universe, one of the things about that made it really fun and interesting was seeing how different all of the characters were and seeing the actors get to play these really different versions of all those characters. But bringing in the new timeline hasn't really done that, because it's not like we've got new versions of these characters where we have a clear idea of, oh, this version of Olivia is different from the version of Olivia in the old timeline.
Right.
Everyone's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's not like Olivia dyed her hair black or something. I don't know.
She definitely should have.
She should have. I mean, eventually they'll introduce... That's really like the defining factor. Like, that's how you know... Or that should be how you know you're in a different universe, is Olivia has her hair a different color. I'd go for that.
But then there was, in season 3 when they switched.
Yeah, that was... Yeah. Fine. Okay, it's not a perfect system. I'll admit it has its flaws, but it's better than what we've got.
When the show is at its best now, is when you're sort of putting aside all of those confusing issues. Like, I think the episode, or the whole thing with the two versions of Astrid meeting one another was really cool and interesting, but it kind of has nothing to do with, multiple timelines. It's just this universe and that universe, and yeah.
I don't know. This has really become a show that you really can't just pick up and watch from any point.
Yeah, my father has sort of been around while it's been on, and he's asked me to tell him what the premise of the show is. He's like, what is this show about? And I just have had a very difficult time explaining that.
You really have to... Yeah, it's really built upon previous seasons of continuity, and it's really... Like if all you had seen of Fringe was even just the first season... you'd still have no clue what was going on, even though you know that this is a team of FBI investigators who track down and try and stop paranormal stuff from happening or something. That's almost, it's still kind of the premise of the show, but there's also all this parallel universe stuff going on. It's really hard to keep track of.
Yeah, well, I think it's still really the core of what the show is. I mean, that's what happens every week on the show, almost.
Right.
They'll go out and solve one of those cases, but there's just enough parallel universe / alternate timeline stuff going on to completely alienate anyone who hasn't been following for 4 years.
Which isn't a very smart thing, network TV-wise.
It's one thing it does is it completely prevents the show from gaining any new audience.
Right.
Which it's not.
Right.
It is mostly holding its audience.
Well, that's good.
Mostly.
Well, it's still not good for business, I'm guessing. I think that's how business works.
What is?
Customers.
Yeah, customers. That's how business works. Yeah, I don't think... At this point, I think it's almost completely inconceivable that the show would continue past this season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very likely.
Which in my opinion, I think is kind of fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the show's been going on long enough. I just don't feel any pressing need to discover more about these characters, I guess. I think it's really kind of all been done enough, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I can't really think of a good example, but I guess, like with Firefly, I mean, I don't know. I obviously didn't want that show to go on forever, but when season 1 of Firefly ends, you really want to know more about those characters. But I feel like if Fringe was canceled tomorrow and they decided not to air the rest of the episodes for the season, I wouldn't really be that disappointed.
I'd probably be disappointed.
Well, I'd be a little disappointed. I would want to know what happens for the current plot line, but I don't feel that there's much more I need to discover about these characters.
I still enjoy watching every episode of Fringe, and yeah. I'm happy when it's on my TV.
Yeah.
And so if they wanted to make another season of these characters finding weird situations and dealing with them, then I would definitely watch that. But I do think it's reached a point where, what would they do if they went another season? How would they make things more complicated than they already are?
Right.
And I'm sure they'd have to, because that's what they do.
Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, if they were to continue it, I feel like they'd need to do something different, I guess. I feel like this whole alternate timeline, parallel universe jazz is really just kind of... I feel like they've exhausted it.
I feel like they have too, but then again, they couldn't just kind of get rid of it, because...
Well, that's true.
Imagine if they just wrapped all that up and said, all right, no more alternate universe, we're never going there again, we're just going to follow Walter, Peter, Olivia, and Astrid as they take on FBI cases of the strange and apparently paranormal. And it's just them doing Case of the Week with no ongoing storyline, and then they just did a season of that. It would be really weird, wouldn't it?
It would, and I probably wouldn't like it. Because as much as I like the whole Strange Case of the Week thing, I do enjoy the ongoing sort of storyline.
I think that's what sort of makes the Case of the Week stuff good.
Yeah.
Like, that you place it in that context. Like, I felt the same way recently. NBC's Chuck ended, and that's a show that I really like a lot. And I kind of felt like there's a part of me that would enjoy watching more and more wacky, crazy spy adventures with goofy, geeky people. But there's also part of me that's like, these characters just don't really seem to have anywhere interesting left to go. So it's better to just end it.
I think all shows probably reach that point eventually. Except for Doctor Who, maybe.
Yeah, I think the thing about Doctor Who is it's constantly refreshing itself and bringing in new characters.
Yeah.
In a way that, maybe other shows should.
Yeah, I think it's about time for Olivia to regenerate.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll regenerate as someone with green hair.
Could be.
I don't know.
But I think there are also there are shows that have characters that it's not so much that there's nowhere left for those characters to go. It's just that those characters were never going anywhere anyway.
True.
Like, for instance, Law and Order or Family Guy or Everybody Loves Raymond. You have shows like that where the characters don't really progress and don't need to progress, and because of that, the show can just go on and on forever.
Right.
And that's not what Fringe ever really was, in my opinion. So
yeah,
I think I'm ready to say goodbye when the season ends. We still got a lot of episodes left this season, though. Right.
Because they ordered like 20 something, right? Like a full season.
They ordered 22, and we've seen 12.
Okay. We do have a lot more. We've got 10 more episodes then, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is how to count.
You know how during the end of one show you'll have the continuity announcer saying what's on next?
Yeah.
And like trying to get you excited about it?
Yes.
The thing that they said, at least this week, I don't know if they say this every week, but enter into the mind of J.J. Abrams. Enter into the world of Fringe.
What?
I believe that's what they said prior to this past week's episode of Fringe.
Really?
And that just sounded like a really strange thing to say to me, because I don't think J.J. Abrams has anything to do with this show anymore.
Right. That sounds like just some sort of shameless attempt to hype up a show that is sort of dwindling down in popularity. So like, hey guys, remember season 1? This was created by J.J. Abrams. Remember him? Isn't he such a great guy?
I think that's exactly what it is.
I mean, I can't really see any other reason to do something like that.
Yeah, and also the thing is, I don't think his name has as much of a pull as a lot of people in Hollywood seem to think it will.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it did. I feel like it did at some point. I think like kind of at his height was when when Lost was on the air and Fringe was just starting and Star Trek was coming out, and those were all big projects that he was very influential on.
And I think what that could do is that name had the power to get the quote-unquote geeks excited.
Yes.
And then those people would go out and get other people excited, maybe. Like, you get the sort of core audience really excited, and then it gains a critical mass, and that was what they were kind of hoping for. But now, like, he's done, Undercovers,
right,
and Person of Interest. I think that was him. Or was it? Am I making that up?
To be honest, I was not interested enough. I was not interested enough in Person of Interest to know.
I get it. But yes, he's executive producer. And then you have Alcatraz.
Wait, did he do that?
He's involved, I think, in the sense that J.J. Abrams attaches his names to shows, helps out with the pilot and maybe the first few episodes, and then leaves and does something else.
Ah.
Every year for the past 3 or 4 years, he's been vaguely related to at least 1 or 2 different TV pilots.
Right. That's an interesting strategy.
Probably gets him money.
Probably. It's probably how that works.
And a lot of the times what he does in those cases is he's working with someone he's worked with before to get those, like, I guess you'd say his friends. Like, his friend
if a man like J.J. Abrams can have such things as friends.
Yes, exactly. He'll associate with them, help them get their TV project off the ground, and then leave them to it. Whereas I think Alcatraz is it's Elizabeth Sarnoff, who is one of the writers on Lost, I think.
Huh.
She's sort of the main creative force behind Alcatraz, which I still haven't seen.
I haven't seen it either, although I have been interested. Because it's got Hurley.
One thing that J.J. Abrams has been saying about it is that there's this sort of ongoing mythology kind of thing, but really every single episode is completely standalone and you wouldn't need to see any other episodes. Anyone could just pick up and watch it. And that's exactly what he said about Fringe in the first season.
Huh. So maybe there's a parallel Alcatraz. God, I hope not.
Wait, what?
I don't know.
Oh.
I was trying to draw more connections between Alcatraz and Fringe, but it was kind of a
parallels.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really one of those things where I have not really been paying attention to what J.J. Abrams has been up to. I mean, I guess it was kind of Undercovers that really ruined him for me.
I thought you liked Undercovers.
I liked it at first, but then it got canceled, and then I stopped liking it.
You stopped liking it because it was canceled?
Yes. It couldn't save itself from cancellation, therefore it was not worth my time.
Yeah, I only ever watched 1 episode.
I see, the problem was I liked it for the first few episodes, but then I just didn't. It was kind of one of those things where I just woke up one morning and I didn't really, and like I knew that my DVR had recorded a new episode, and I just was like, you know what, I don't feel like watching that. I don't know. I don't know.
The problem with that show for me ended up being that it was a somewhat lighthearted but also dramatic spy show with a romantic element. Which Chuck is a much better version of, in my opinion, and that was on the air, and so I was watching that instead.
So if they had just waited until Chuck finished, they could have picked up on that whole audience.
They might have.
But they didn't. Mm-hmm. Such was J.J. Abrams' hubris. I don't know what else to say about Fringe, because it seems like they're certainly, obviously Walter and Peter are working very hard to get Peter back to quote-unquote his own timeline, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, if maybe the machine they're building somehow will defeat David Robert Jones. I don't know, but I'm interested.
It's still, I think it's still as enjoyable as it ever was.
Yeah.
But I think even though I think the ongoing plot of this year is a little bit, it's too confusing, too abstract, too unclear as to what's going on and why we should care.
Yeah.
And whether the thing that Peter is trying to figure out, like, whether sending Peter back home is even, like, a sensible concept.
Right.
Yeah, but
I would be interested to know what they would do if Fox just, for whatever crazy reason, decided to renew them again. Because, well, first of all, I don't know where they're headed, but I just think it would be very interesting if tomorrow or something Fox announced they're renewing Fringe for some reason for a 5th season. And, I don't know. I'd be interested to know. Would they continue heading in the direction they're heading? Because it doesn't really seem like they got much of a direction.
No. Also, they don't have much of a viewership, so...
True. So it's not very likely.
No, not at all.
Oh well. As we've said, I would probably be okay with it getting canceled.
Yeah, it's not as though it would be considered a show that was canceled before its time.
Yeah.
It has had a good run.
Yeah.
I think we're done talking about it. We're just sort of repeating ourselves now.
Yeah, we kind of are.